Welcome to this edition of Perspective 254. My name is Agility Kesa. Before to answer, please go ahead, bonyeza that subscribe button, then come back. Let's do our thing. You see that? I said bonyeza. Wonderful word, right? Kama ujui kubonyeza means press the button. Now today, we're diving into the spicy clash between President William Ruto and the Kenya's judiciary. Ever since I can remember, Dr. Ruto's relationship with the judiciary has been a love-hate kind of relationship. Wanapendana leo, kesho wameachana. Love when things are going good and Mr. Ruto is getting his way, and hate when he does not get his way. Currently, if I'm reading all signs correctly, they are actually at the hate phase of the relationship. Saizi hawapendani. Well, Dr. Ruto, I'm sorry, is not happy with the judiciary system in Kenya. He is not happy with the judges, especially the judges in the High Court. And most importantly, he is not happy with some alleged corrupt individuals that are actually working behind the scenes to mess up his government's agenda. And this right here is the reason why Dr. Ruto is not happy.
Our judiciary, we respect you, but judicial impunity by corrupt judicial officers must stop in Kenya. We will stop it, and whatever it takes.
Now, going all the way back to sometime last year when the courts stopped his appointment of chief administrative secretaries, the list of Dr. Ruto's troubles with the courts just seems to be getting longer and longer and longer by the day. And as such, Dr. Ruto is throwing accusations left and right. He is saying some judges are corrupt and messing up his grand plans, the Kenya Kwanza agenda. This rant was occasioned by the High Court's pulling of the plug of his housing levy thing back in November. The beef between the executive and the judiciary has hit a point where the president is actually openly talking about defying court orders going forward. Basically, amesema mambo ya court amewachana nayo. A move that raises very, very crucial questions about the rule of law in this country and the delicate balance of power in our democracy. Now, before we get too far, check out this clip from an African classic movie called The Rise and Fall of Idi Amin Dada.
Hello, Your Excellency.
I want to talk to you about the British journalist.
Yes, Your Excellency.
Can you bring the case forward?
Well, I'm on that case at the moment.
I want this man convicted and hanged.
What? Your Excellency, what's the point of my rendering a decision on the journalist if you say he's already guilty?
He must be declared guilty. But he must first be tried in our courts so that the world know that Amin is fair and right.
What we've just seen in that clip might be an exaggeration of what actually did happen in Uganda back in the day. I can't remember what year. But the way things are going in Kenya here, can we really, really seriously rule out that possibility? Can we? Can we seriously say that's never going to happen to Kenya? Well, I guess only time will tell. Only time will tell. Tutaona venye kunaenda. Now, back to Dr. Ruto. A few weeks ago, in a bold move never before seen in this country, President Dr. William Ruto vowed to disregard court rulings or injunctions that are issued against him and his government. Like I said, amesema mambo ya koti hatasikiza. Dr. Ruto is alleging bribery in some of the court rulings that have halted some of his key programs, including the universal healthcare and the controversial housing projects. Hapo ndio iko shida kwa housing projects. Now, speaking of the function in Nyandarua recently, that was I think earlier this year, he cited a road in the region that had stalled over a court feud as an example of how development is being derailed by the alleged corrupt judges. During this speech, he actually went on to order the road's principal secretary to ensure the resumption of construction of that road, despite the court orders stopping it.
Ile barabara ya Ihithe munataka tujenge ama munataka tungoje mpaka judiciary watuambie tujenge? Judiciary wanasema tusijenge. Munataka tujenge? Nijenge hiyo barabara ama tungoje hao watu? Tujenge barabara? Bwana Mbogwa. Wewe Bwana PS, weka pesa ya hiyo barabara tuanze kujenga.
And in a different occasion, Dr. Ruto also again expressed frustration at the actions he said were actually hampering implementation of his government agenda. Now, Dr. Ruto seems to be thinking there is a collusion between the courts and some corrupt individuals to derail his agenda. This right here is sure is a recipe for anarchy. It is indeed amazing how many Kenya Kwanza cheerleaders jumped right behind the president in his threat to disobey the courts of law. They came out in full force, rallying behind the president, all calling for, disobey the judiciary. We had the likes of one Kimani Ichung'wah saying, we shall not allow judicial autocracy or executive autocracy in this country. Now, I do wonder if while he was saying this, he actually realized that he had just witnessed the executive autocracy that he was talking about by his own boss.
Ile barabara ya Ihithe munataka tujenge ama munataka tungojee mpaka judiciary watuambie tujenge? Judiciary wanasema tusijenge. Munataka tujenge? Nijenge hiyo barabara ama tungojee hao watu? Tujenge barabara? Bwana Mbogwa, wewe bwana PS, weka pesa ya hiyo barabara tuanze kujenga.
And of course, a Kenya Kwanza event would not be complete without the former President Uhuru Kenyatta's name being mentioned, because that's obviously part of what they do. And so, Mr. Ndindi Nyoro, please take it away.
Now, to the sponsor of those maandamano, who is the former president of this republic, tafadhali, Wakenya walikupea 10 years. 10 years ni heshima ya juu sana. Na mimi nasema hivi nikijua vile nasema. Hatusemi hii maneno to blame anyone. We are saying them because it's the reality. The former president, please, wacha kutumia pesa yako kusponsor vijana waende maandamano. Wacha kusponsor makesi katika mahakama.
And then, after Mr. Nyoro, there was also the Kiambu Senator, Mr. Paul Karungo, who outright came out and asked the president to openly disobey the court orders because, according to him, Uhuru Kenyatta did the same thing and nothing was done to him. So, why not? Tuendelee, right?
Koti ambaye anataka kutumia ilitoa sheria ati yeye aachishe ma-CAS kazi sababu hiyo kiti sio constitutional. Yeye hakufuata sheria ya koti hiyo. Wale waliendelea kukaa kazini na yeye hakupelekwa mahali. Mheshimiwa Rais, hatukwambie uvuje sheria, lakini jua pia wewe hautapelekwa mahali.
Last but not least, of course, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, aka Reggie G, being the ever so loyal sidekick, chimed in on the president's sentiments. According to Mr. Gachagua, the president's first executive action for 2024 should have been to restore the independence of the courts, whatever that means. I don't know what it means by restore the independence of the courts, because according to me, they're very independent already. Sounds to me like Mr. Gachagua here is asking the president to actually take away the independence of the courts and not restore it, because the courts are independent, and that's what seems to be pissing off Dr. Ruto and his company. What Dr. Ruto and his brigade seem to be forgetting is the courts are not beholden to the president. The Constitution is not beholden to the president. The judges working in the justice system might be beholden to the president, but that's only because they serve at the pleasure of the president. He can hire and fire them, I think. I'm not sure. But the justice system is not. Even the judges, even though they are appointed by the president, still have a duty to uphold the Constitution and ensure that everyone, including the president, abides by the same Constitution. Even Chief Justice Martha Koome did not take too kindly to these pronouncements by the president, and she came out all guns blazing. Or in her case, she came out all pens blazing. Funny joke, right? And issued a memo to the judges and the judiciary staff. Part of the memo read like this: when the state or public officers threaten to defy the court orders, the rule of law is imperiled, setting a stage for anarchy to prevail in the nation. Indeed, defying court orders should breach the public trust vested in the state and the public officers, who should at all times act in a manner that is consistent with the purposes and objects of the Constitution. All this having happened in the last couple of months, or actually in the last 1 month. Dr. Ruto and Chief Justice Martha Koome actually had a one-on-one meeting to discuss matters of the judiciary very recently at State House. Nobody knows it was a secret meeting. It was so secret that nobody knows what was actually discussed at that meeting. But we all assumed it was some kind of a handshake between the president and the Chief Justice that would enable the president to get his way with the courts of law, because that's how things work in Africa and in Kenya and in Africa. However, were we all wrong or what? because just a couple of days after that secret meeting between the president and the Chief Justice, the court slammed the brakes on a couple of Dr. Ruto's projects that they deemed unconstitutional. His beloved housing program and the Haiti police mission. And then, just for the fun of it, decided to toss a leadership dispute in parliament into the mix just for good measure. Now, if Dr. Ruto wants to have his way with the judiciary, maybe he could appoint some of his minions and cronies in those seats in the courts so that he can always get his way. That way, he can always ensure that he gets his way whenever this guy right here, tries to get in the way of his agenda. It's starting to look like this is the direction that we might be headed as a country. And it's very, very unfortunate. There is actually rumors making the rounds about the possibility of the Chief Justice Martha Koome losing her position and getting replaced by one Wafula Chebukati, the one guy who took it upon himself to declare Dr. Ruto the winner of the 2022 presidential elections against the wishes of several of the commissioners that he was working with on the commission. If this was to happen, this would be a head-first descent into the kind of anarchy that Martha Koome had described in her earlier letter to the judiciary. Now, on September 13th of 2022, Dr. Ruto here, having narrowly won the presidential election by less than a percentage point against Raila Odinga, held the Bible in front of a whole world at Kasarani Stadium and swore to uphold the Constitution and the laws of this country. And then, during the same event, Dr. Ruto said this:
"My administration will respect judicial decisions while we cement the place of Kenya as a country anchored on democracy and the rule of law."
Now, barely 2 years into his leadership, he is threatening to disobey the same constitution that he held up the Bible and swore an oath to protect and uphold. Now, as we witness this clash between the executive and the judiciary, it becomes imperative to reflect on the foundations of our democracy. President Dr. Ruto's beef with the judicial decisions and his threats to give the courts the finger challenge the very essence of our constitution that he swore to uphold in the first place. The potential consequences of such actions on the rule of law and the separation of power cannot be overstated. It is crucial for all stakeholders, including citizens, political leaders, and the judiciary, to engage in constructive dialogue to address the underlying issues and prevent a slide into a situation where the executive acts like they are above the law. This has been Perspective 254. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and till next time, cheers.